Today is Tuesday, Parashat Miketz. It's also the 5th day of Hanukkah. Last night, we lit the 5 candles plus the shamash. Today is also Erev Rosh Chodesh Tevet. It's the eve of the month, the beginning of the month of Tevet. So in a way, when the moon, at the end of the month, this is when the moon becomes, the sort of disappears. This is the darkest time of the month. And even now being the winter, it's sort of the darkest time of the year. But in the darkest time of the year, we have 5 candles, which is the majority of the candles of Hanukkah. This is when the light becomes brighter than the middle point. See, because last night was the 5th candle. The night before was 4, which is exactly the middle of the Hanukkah candles. But the 5th one, this is when we increase, we go over into the next half. And that's when the light shines even brighter than was at the beginning. But little light pushes a lot of darkness. But just the fact that it's 5 candles, as opposed to less than the middle point, there's more light in the darkest day of the month. But also another interesting point is the 5th day of Hanukkah never happens on Shabbat. So it's always a day of the weekdays of Chol. And the day of Chol also, again, we have the opportunity to shine a light that is very bright in terms of the 5th candle when we go into more than the middle point. Typically, Erev Rosh Chodesh is a time which is called by many Kippur Katan, kind of a small Yom Kippur. This is a day to do Teshuvah. Some people have even accustomed to fast on the day of the eve of any Rosh Chodesh, because this is in preparation for beginning of a new month. We want to clean the slate, we want to do Teshuvah, so there are more prayers that are added in terms of some Techinot, some Tachanunim are said, and the idea of fasting is also to bring into the person a spirit of Teshuvah, of humility and doing and repenting. So today, the Erev Rosh Chodesh, being during the holiday of Hanukkah, we cannot fast, we cannot add Tachanunim. On the opposite, it's Chazara v'Teshuvah with Simcha and with celebration and with thankfulness to Hashem, and with highlighting the fact that the Torah is really the source of inspiration, and the Torah is really what brings clarity to our lives in terms of Torah, or the Torah is like light. So Erev Rosh Chodesh, which typically is a day of fasting and a day of Tachanunim, on this Erev Rosh Chodesh, it's a day of celebration and Simcha in serving Hashem. And that's a meaningful thing. So this 5th day of Hanukkah has another added dimension of importance. So this is about the day of Erev Rosh Chodesh and the 5th candle of Hanukkah. But one other idea about the parasha of this week. Paro has the dream, a dream that really bothers him. And the dream that bothers him is because he sees that there are fat cows being swallowed by thin cows. And he sees that there are fat ears of grain being swallowed by thin ears of grain. And this doesn't make sense to him because he is the most powerful empire at the time in history. The Egyptians were very advanced in many ways, and a lot of it had to do with their strength, their power, physical, material. So how could it be that the material, which is the more powerful, the bigger, can be swallowed by ones that are thinner? Didn't make sense. And that's what bothered him. That is when Yosef explains to him about the famine. But the idea here that this parasha always happens during the week of Hanukkah. Sometimes the parasha is read on the Shabbat of Hanukkah, and if not, this is still during Hanukkah. This whole week is Parashat Miketz, because the holiday of Hanukkah also tells us that with the Greeks, Hashem gave Rabbim be'ad me'atim, Giborim be'ad chalashim. The Greeks, who were very powerful, were given in the hands of those who are the few and not so strong compared to them. To tell us that what's important, more than the material and the physical, is the spiritual. And with Am Yisrael, with our spirituality, even though in terms of numbers, we're not a huge compared to other countries and other nations, not a huge number of people in terms of a census of numbers, but we are powerful in terms of our spirit and our spirituality. And that's when we see in what the prayer that we say on Hanukkah, we say that Hashem gave the many in the hands of the few, and Temeim be'at tehorim, those who are impure in the hands of those who are pure, and Zedim be'ad oskei toratecha, those who learn Torah, those who are dedicated to Torah. Even though they may be smaller numbers, they can wait against the big, huge armies of the others, such as the case with the Greeks, and as is indicated by the dream that Paro has in the parasha that is always read during the week of Hanukkah. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen.